Lonnie Hot Rod Wilson. I played at Liberty Park in the 60s, played Little League Baseball for the Methodist, played Babe Ruth for Lobie Blocks, and I was on the 1965 Little League All-Star Championship team, state champion that we won. We had a lot of good guys back in. Johnny Lettner was our coach on the All-Star team in junior Honeycutt, and Dan Marlowe was my coach on Methodist Little League team. We had a lot of good boys back in that day. That's all we had to do was play ball here at Liberty Park. And they've played ball here at this facility ever since that I can remember.
My name is Bill Archer. I played on one of the first Little League teams in 1954 when they organized Little League. And next year I played Senior League for 3 years. And then I went to playing high school baseball. We go back to Little League. We had a group of businessmen here in La Follette. There was about 10 of them that felt like there needed to be a sports program for the kids. And they all got together and organized a Little League and chartered it. And we went from there. But from the time I was 12, for 36 straight years, I either coached or I started out playing. I either umpired it after 16, I was an umpire, and then I coached, and then I was president of the league, and I've done everything that can be thought of down at Liberty Park. Then I advanced to high school, and after playing in high school, Jerry Brown came to me and said, Bill, I feel like there's a need for us to, if you won't care, go up in high school and help build a baseball field. So we went up there to high school and built it became probably at that time the best high school field in Tennessee, or we felt like it was. And it's now named the Brown Archer Field. So I've been involved in sports as much as I have in politics. And President City Council and Mayor want to do things for our kids in town. We're looking to do a whole lot of things. We're trying to get involvement. We're trying to get people say that I'm proud to be from La Follette, and we're trying to get as much involvement for the kids and much developed as we can. Okay, the Brown Archer Field is located at the Campbell County High School. In sports, when I was in high school, it was the first organized high school baseball team when I became a freshman. Smiley Miller was the baseball coach at that time, and same time as track was organized. And Ron Pinchback was head of the track team, Smiley was baseball, and I played. And then Mon Murray became coach, and I became a pitcher. And then my senior year, I pitched. I won 6 games, never lost a game. Our team didn't lose any until we got to the district championship, and we lost. Or after the regional, we lost, but. I pitched 3 games in 6 days and won them all. A 1-hitter, a no-hitter, and a 3-hitter. So I'm real proud of that achievement.
Now, what year would that have been and what high school?
That would have been at the old high school, which now in the middle school. And that would have been 58 to 62. I graduated in 1962. There'd been some really, really good kids playing baseball here, some real good. that I'd say Richard Turney was real good. The Sparks boy that went on and played some baseball, pro ball, was a pretty good pitcher. But this town before that was blessed with men who had the talent that you don't see today's teams, and even in the majors. We were blessed with baseball talent. And they became coaches, and they taught fundamentals. They taught you how to bunt, and how to run, and bases, how to slide, all that good stuff. And remember coaching T-ball, it was hard to me I had kids that didn't know how to run to first base. They'd take off to third base. So it's an enjoyable experience. Really been blessed.
Bill, thank you for taking a few minutes.
Not a problem, but I love it. I love the game. And being on city council, it gives us all an opportunity to advance the programs. We hope the rec center, we're going to do some improvements here, and we're going to do some improvements otherwise. We talked in there, maybe put some AstroTurf on the infield so we won't have the rainouts for T-ball and all that stuff.
Okay.
Well, the Liberty Park reunion, I had talked to Dennis Powers about getting a reunion for the Little League team, and he's all for it. But we all got involved in campaigns last year and couldn't get it together. But since being on city council, Hot Rod and I, we talked about it, and so we got with Johnny Burge, our recreation director, and Jimmy Jeffers, our city administrator, and we all put our heads together about doing something, and we've had response out of this world. I mean, we don't know how many will show up here today because we've been limited on advertisements. But future, we hope it'll just grow year after year. If you look now for the people that's come in, it's well worth the effort we put into it.
My name's John Lettner. I was a coach of the Florida All-Stars that won the state championship in 1965. I've coached in Little League Baseball for years. I've been in the recreation program for 57 years. I coached the Lions Club for over 20 years. I've coached several other teams too. I've coached baseball, basketball, softball. I've coached all the sports they've had down here during that time period there. One game I remember real well is when we won the state championship. We had a pitcher by the name of Danny McCullough. He had a good curveball. And we played Jackson, Tennessee down there. They was down there and they had TV cameras and photographs, and they was really upset, thought they was going to beat us. They thought they was going to beat us down there. They was really excited, and we were too, but we beat Jackson 2-0, if I'm not mistaken on there. Because Danny McCullough pitched down there for us. He had a good breaking curve ball. They couldn't hit it. They was trying to step across the plate, trying to hit the ball. And that's one game I really remember that I enjoyed, especially winning that state championship there in Nashville. Later, you know, we represented the state of Tennessee down in Georgia. We went to down to the Georgia campus, University of Georgia. We met Mr. Dewey, Vince Dewey, the football coach. He let us stay there in the dormitory at the University of Georgia, and it saved us a lot of money there. But anyway, if we could beat Georgia, we could win out to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And they come and told us if we won, they was going to buy us new uniforms and fly us out there on an airplane. Well, I told them right there, I said, time out. I can't get on an airplane. I have to drive. I'll meet you down there if we beat Georgia. But, you know, Georgia beat us. They beat us in the first inning. After that, we shut them out the rest of the ball game, but we still got beat with Georgia.
Okay, I'm Dennis Powers, and I played on the 1965 Little League state champion all-star team from La Follette. something we'll never forget about the good times that we had, the great memories, and got to play with a great bunch of people. And I have one of our coaches here and one of my fellow players here with me today, Mr. Johnny Letner, our coach, and he did a great job. When you're a young kid, 11, 12 years old, you never really think about how much work and how much effort that a coach has to put into a team, how much of their own personal time, their own vehicles, everything else that they donate and they sacrifice just to be able to coach a team. You don't think about that until you get older, and then you get involved in coaching and you look back and you realize how dedicated they were, and we really appreciate everything that they did. And my good friend Hot Rod Wilson that got to play on the team with, and he was a great athlete, and we just had a great time and really enjoyed getting to do it. And with that, I'll ask our coach, what's your fondest memory of our whole thing, the whole 1965 season? As far as, I remember we went to Clinton. I think if I remember correctly, we had 4 games in Clinton and won all 4 of them, beating Maryville the last game 1-0 on a James Carson pitching and hitting a home run, I believe. And then we went on to Johnson City, won a couple of games up there, and then went to Smyrna and got to play for the championship. But out of all those games, what's the most memorable thing that you think we did?
I think when we won state championship, you remember down there in Jackson, they was down there taking movie pictures, and they had cameras down there rolling, and they was sure they was going to beat us.
True.
They made fun of us down there.
Right.
I had some of them ask me where we was from, and I tried to tell them. They looked at us like we were a bunch of dummies down there. But we beat Jackson 2-0, I think it was. Danny McCullough did the pitching.
Yeah.
That's
Great
one of the
pitcher.
best games I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny was a great pitcher. Really had a hard fastball, and hard for a lot of them to handle. Yeah, you're right, because a lot of them thought, a bunch of little hillbillies back here from the Appalachian Mountains, and we were kind of a small team compared to the rest of them. The one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize the difference between now and back then, we didn't have different categories either. It was just 9-year-olds to 12-year-old, and you throw the ball out there and play, and there was no breakdown as far as divisions or anything like that, or no individual years. It was 9 to 12-year-olds, so it was really an honor to get to represent La Follette and get to play in a state championship, just being kind of the underdog.
That's true. I agree with you there. And we never went back. Since 1965, we never had a team to go back to state. Back then, we had like 10-team league, and when you won the league championship up here, then you won something because there's about 10 teams in it.
Exactly.
So now I think they're doing well to have 2 or 3 teams.
Right.
Yeah.
And same question to you, Hot Rod. What do you think was, as all the games that we had and that we played in and everything, not counting going to Georgia and getting beat down there in Athens, but all the games here that we played here in Tennessee and were able to win, what do you think was your most memorable game as far as good things that happened or coming back to win a game? What do you think we did the best at?
The most memorable one was in Johnson City when we was down 0-1 and 0-0, and then we finally won up there. It was a memorable one. And then when we came back home after we won the districts and then the state champion, the whole city came out and we had big parades. And that was, at 12 years old, it's exciting to ride in them convertibles and shake your hand.
Yeah, we got, matter of fact, we got interviewed on WLEF 1450 at the time. I remember that was a big thing to get interviewed, only being, and I was actually the only 11-year-old on there because I remember we'd go like to the movies or something. I'd get a discount because everybody else was 12 and I was 11, so I would get in half price, and they always put me out there to the side. But just it was a thrill to get to be on the radio and get to come back and ride in the convertibles and get interviewed by the newspaper and everything. I think mine was probably the Maryville game, and I think if I remember correctly, won it in the last inning. It was 0-0, and pretty much a 1 or 2 hit ball game both ways. And then James hit that home run in the bottom of the last inning, if I remember that game correctly. But I remember we won 1-0, and he pitched a great game that game too. But all those we come back and won a bunch of games we weren't supposed to win.
I like to say this. We went down there and we had trouble beating Clinton. Clinton had always beat La Follette.
Yes.
And we went down there and they were so sure they was going to beat us. And, well, we wore them out down there that day. I think we beat them about 14-2, 14-3, something like that. And that really tore them up because they were sure they was going to beat us.
Yeah, I remember that. We had a lot of other great things, too, that we couldn't even tell you coaches about that we did as far as the road trips, but we'll tell you maybe when we're off camera here sometime. But I do remember being when we were in Smyrna, if you all remember, and somebody, I won't mention their name, but they fell in a pool. Yeah, I do too. I remember they fell in the swimming pool that night. We were probably not supposed to be out there swimming, but one of our players fell in the pool, and another one of our players jumped in and pulled him out. So we had some things that we didn't really want to tell you all about. Hot Rod, do you want to mention any of those things that we shouldn't mention?
No, I believe I'll keep quiet on that.
Let me say this, those boys, we didn't want the boys going swimming down in Georgia. I know when we went out there on the field in Georgia, those boys, their eyes as red as can be. Some of them were they out swimming in that water.
Yeah.
And Junior and I talked about it. We didn't know that you all slipped off and went swimming.
Right. Yeah, that's what made our eyes red. Yeah. Another thing we got to do too in Georgia, if you all remember, we got to go to that bat factory. I'll never forget going in there and going in the bat factory and watching them make baseball bats, because back then, of course, we had a wooden bat and we, break 2 or 3 a game. But going and watching bat factory and how they were manufacturing, I've still got that little bitty wooden bat that they gave me for a souvenir from going in there.
Another thing, if we'd had metal bats back then, we'd have a lot more home runs.
And a lot more base hits.
Yeah. But then, I don't know, a lot of times them bats would break and little wooden bats would, but you take a metal bat, well, you can hit that ball a lot farther, I think.
Yeah, we were always taught to turn the trademark. We had to turn the trademark up away from getting it hit, because if you ever got hit on the trademark, that was the weakest part of the bat. So that was something we had to do. That was part of our training when we were playing. Hot Rod, anything else that you want to mention as far as what we did on the team, or any of the trips or anything that we went on?
I just feel blessed that I was allowed to play on the team with everybody and that we did win the state championship.
Yeah. Me too. It was such an honor. We had, of course, Mr. Lettner. We had Mr. Honeycutt, who was a great coach, who has passed away. We've got 4 of our other fellow players that we were just talking about earlier. We were looking at the trophy case up there in the photo, and we were talking about Jeff Bullock and Gary Lovett and Darrell Woods and Leland Miller that all passed away, and then of course a lot of the other players that were out of state or out of town that couldn't be here today. But we had a lot of great memories and a lot of great players on that team, good athletes, and it was an honor to get to play with them.
Okay, my name is Philip Rutherford, and I had to walk all the time to Liberty Park. I lived about 1.5 miles out of town, and it wasn't just me. Some boys out in my neighborhood also played ball. We walked to town, and we always run back home at night, and we let one get a little bit of a head start, and we chased him all the way home, so nothing bad could get a hold of us. We were still young and kind of eerie of the dark places in the road and that, but one of the fondest memories, I guess, at my age now and looking back on it, was a teaching lesson, was when Robert Cotton Jackson was over Liberty Park and during the baseball season, summer season, and I hit a ball, and ground ball, and I thought it was awfully close. In fact, I thought I was safe at first base, but they called me out, and I was upset, and I threw my helmet. Well, Cotton Jackson come down the stairs out of the concession stand and come and didn't get a hold of me exactly. He kind of come up to me and said, "Phil," said, "you need to go apologize to that referee." He said, "That's no way to act. That's not good sportsmanship." And I did, and that was one of the greatest, I think, in my life anyhow, teaching experiences for an adult to teach a young child how to act and how to conduct themselves when things don't go your way in life. And I've always held on to that and appreciate him for that thing. But had a lot of great memories in the park down here, and I was relating some of it when we was practicing high school baseball down here in the lights one night, and one of the players was out in right field, or left field, I'm sorry, and the coach hit him a real high ball to catch, and he lost it in the lights because the lighting system wasn't the best in the world at that time. and it missed his glove a little bit and hit him right on top of the head and bounced right straight up in the air. Of course, being kids, you know, that shouldn't have been something to laugh at, somebody getting hurt, or not seriously or anything, but we laughed at it, and I've always remembered that as a part of that. But I always enjoyed my days at Liberty Park, and one time, years ago, they used to have on the 4th of July, they had just an open thing for everybody to come in and enjoy that particular holiday and celebrate and everything. And they had a greased pole, and they had, I forget now if it was $10 on top of it or something else to that effect. But anyhow, all us boys thought we was we could climb anything. But to this day, I don't know if anybody ever made it up that pole to get that money. And then it was only like maybe 12 foot high if it was that high. Might have been 10 foot. But anyhow, nobody ever climbed that greased pole to get that money or whatever the prize might have been now. But that was a memory we always had. And a lot of fun and games down here. It was open. And, I know today's children have a lot of activities going on, but they don't get to socialize maybe as much as we did together because so many activities they got going on in their lives now. But I hope every kid and anybody that's ever watched this or might watch this or listen to this, that I hope you can look back and cherish some of the good times that God has permitted you to have down life's pathway, and cherish them and all the people that you've been acquainted with and got to know. And I've enjoyed being out here a part of this celebration of Liberty Park today, and have seen some folks that I've played ball with and knew and went to school with and various reasons and good to talk with and relive old memories. And I want to say that I appreciate Jim and WLAF and all their affiliated associations there with the radio station and that for letting me have this opportunity to share these good times with you. And just God's been good, and I appreciate living in La Follette and being with all these people around here. Good people. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Melvin Bowshires. I've lived here all of my life except 1 year. I lived in Michigan and played a lot of ball here and coached a lot of ball. I come from got out of the Air Force in 1960, and in 1964 I had a Little League team that won 19 consecutive games. And as far as I know, that still is a record for La Follette Little League team. Then I played softball with all these other fellers, and I could run pretty good, and they nicknamed me Rabbit. And I still go by that name. I was called Rabbit here today quite a bit from different people. But well, I can tell you about Dennis Powers, our representative. People around here ask him to do things and tell him to do this and that, but Dennis Powers has done more things that I have told him than anybody. And where I get that as, he was my second baseman on that Little League team that won 19 consecutive games, and he did everything I told him as I can remember. Oh yeah, well, I would bunt, and this is fast pitch softball. I would bunt, and they would throw the ball to second base, try to get me out. If they throwed it to first, I'd automatically end up on second. And if they fumbled the ball on second base, I'd go on to third. One time, I struck out, and Leonard Hooks missed the ball. He was the hind catcher for West La Follette. He missed the ball, so I ran, and he was still back there at the backstop, and I went to second, and he throwed the ball to second and throwed it over the second baseman's head, and I came home, and I scored on a strikeout. Most of them boys remembers that. Jerry Crutchfield and Bill and them boys, they remember that. I just won amongst a whole big bunch of stuff that we could talk about. But Dennis Powers, our representative, he was my second baseman, and he was little, kind of like me. I was about as little as he was, but not hardly. But anyhow, I'd tell Dennis, I'd say, now Dennis, you squat down, you get as low as you can, and you would walk, and he did. He did. He'd squat down. If he'd stretch up a little bit, I'd holler at him, and that's the reason Dennis Powers has done more things that I told him than anybody else in this country. Yeah. Because I was his Little League coach when we won the 19 consecutive games, yeah.
I'm Terry Wells. I coached here back when I started when Noah Porter was over here at down under the hill here, and Buford was over here. He was directing, and I coached T-ball and got interested in baseball a little bit and helping along with different ones. And then I went to softball. I coached a little softball too, and I enjoyed that. I miss it in a way, but I just preach now. But I love working with these little girls and boys. This is a little activity they could get involved with, and I enjoyed it. Met a lot of friends over here, and some's gone and some still coaching, and so that's about it.
Do you have a memory or two to tell us?
Well, I won some and I lost a few. Lost more than I won, I guess.
David Chapman. I coached Little League Baseball for 14 years, and I coached Junior Pro Basketball for 15 years. And I have coached women's softball team, and I played some with the men's softball team. I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed working with the kids, and it was the most rewarding thing about that is kids seeing them grow and learn and do the things that they needed to learn. Not necessarily because I was the one that was teaching them, but I taught them what I could and what I knew, and I always expected the best out of everybody. I tried to, and I tried to have respect for everybody, and I might have stumbled along the way sometimes, but I think we all do that. And I appreciate the program down here wholeheartedly, and if I was able, I'd do it again.
I'm Johnny Bird, City of La Follette Parks and Recreation Director. Certainly I want to thank everyone that came out today to our first annual, I guess we might say, reunion for Liberty Park, and hopefully we can build on it. We've had a lot of people through today, and it's just really been an enjoyable time to see a lot of old friends and people.
My name is Johnny Lettner. I've been involved in the program for 57 years, a long time. I started out coaching down here in 1960 with the Lions Club. John R.W. Brown got me coaching, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm on the recreation board here, and we're doing better financially than we've ever done. And I remember in 1965, we didn't even have money we didn't know if we were going to get to go to Nashville. We didn't have no money to do nothing with, but now we're in good shape. Thanks to Johnny here, he's got these schools in good shape, and our gyms are in good shape. We got new ball goals. Floor's been worked on. They're in good shape, so we're doing good.
Thank you, Johnny, and I didn't pay him to say that, by the way, James, but we are fortunate, being able to work with mayor and city council, and we've really made a lot of improvements, and I'm just proud to be part of that, and my goal is just to continue to make the best recreation facilities possible for the children and for the community here in La Follette.